Listen-only mode.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm seeing my colleagues up on Zoom. As everyone is well aware by this time, we're still keeping social distancing, and three of my colleagues are out there in cyber world, but I do get to see them there on their cameras, so welcome. Fran, do I need to ask for a motion then?
If you'd like me to, I could take roll.
Okay, please do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Chukri,
Present.
Supervisor Gallardo,
I'm here.
Supervisor Gates,
Here.
Vice Chairman Sellers,
Here.
and Chairman Hickman.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, I also want you to know that your attorney, Andrea Cummings, is on the line.
Okay, welcome, Andrea. Thanks for being here. And I see Joy Rich. And I see Fran. Okay, so we're good to get started. We are on number one. Item number one is infrastructure funding agreement and an MOU with Maricopa County Workforce Development Board and its Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act partners. So we're getting to, do I need to read all three of them? Is this all in one vote, or is this going to be one at a time?
Mr. Chairman, we have grouped together the first four items, which are all workforce development, have a part in that, and I believe their chairman is here. I don't know if you want him to speak before or after.
I am. I'll have him speak before, but I'll just read off the four numbers then. Item number two is a rescind and replace agreements between Maricopa County Board of Supervisors and Maricopa County Workforce Development Board. Item number three is to replace the Maricopa County Workforce Development Board bylaws. And number four is the Maricopa County WOA, is that what I'm reading? Local plan for program years 2020 through 2023. Okay, before I look for a motion and a vote, I thought it would be important. This represents a lot of work. And first off, I think what I'll do is ask Leanne to come a little bit closer to the microphone. Sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot. And then my friend here that is the current chairman of the Workforce Development Board is also here. So I'll go start off, Leanne, if there's any questions for our group. This has been a wild and wacky year, and I wanted to thank you for your hard work. Andrea, for your hard work as well. Fran's looking at Leanne. Leanne's working at Fran. Fran, are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So Leanne, welcome.
Thank you. So these four items, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, are the final items that we need in order to meet the recertification requirements for actually program year 2018. Today is the deadline. It was November 1st was given to us as a deadline, but that was yesterday. It was a Sunday. So we'll be submitting all of these to the Department of Economic Security as well as the Workforce Arizona Council today, and hoping that they are supportive in recertifying.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can we have Leanne get a little bit closer to the mic?
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
So just to summarize, sorry, Supervisor
better?
Gallardo. Better?
Okay.
Good.
So these are the documents that we need to submit for recertification of our workforce board, and we'll be doing that today, and hopeful that those are looked upon favorably by the state.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Leanne. I would like to bring up Matt McGuire now as well. Matt has been a friend of mine for a long time, and he was plugged in a little bit over a year ago to the Workforce Development Board, and I know that this entire board and all of our colleagues have worked extremely hard to get more and more people that are involved with industry on this board. So, and Matt is definitely one that represents them. And Matt, I just want you to speak just a little bit on just, I think we've all been following this, but just how much hard work has gone into this. There were a lot of eyes upon this starting a little bit more than a year ago, and now it's all come to fruition. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, fellow supervisors.
I just want to first begin by expressing my gratitude for the opportunity to serve the community in this capacity. You appointed me earlier this year, and it's been a learning experience, and I think most importantly, I think we've done some great work on behalf of the citizens of Maricopa County. Leanne, in particular, has been just a huge resource. Bill Wiley, Andrea Cummings, Jacqueline Edwards have just been unbelievable assets to our board as we've worked through what has been just a tremendous amount of work. The only thing I'd add as to what Leanne offered is that our board has approved all 4 of these documents. We did so last Thursday, so they come with the full support of our board.
Great. Thank you. So I'm looking at my colleagues if there's any questions. If not, I will be looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of these items and with just a short comment.
Sure. Do I have a second?
I'll second that with comments as well after Mr. Gates.
Okay, very good. Bill?
Mr. Chair, just want to thank you for your leadership, Leanne, and everyone. This has been a difficult process, and I'm a little more involved because I am certainly a poor successor to Mr. Chukri on the Workforce Arizona Council, but nonetheless, this relationship between the Board of Supervisors and the local Workforce Development Board is extremely important. And this vote that we're making today is an indication of the work that has been done. And because there is no time where it's been more important that we be focused, obviously, with the pandemic, with the economic challenges that everyone's facing, to get people the training that they need and to get them placed in new jobs and to just really, and then obviously all the economic benefits that come along with having people fully employed. So thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Supervisor Chukri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think what Mr. Gates was saying is, I quit because I knew I was going to get fired the next day. So he succeeded me and did so very well. But to his point, and Mr. Gallardo is very familiar with this, as is Mr. Sellers, this is so multifaceted in what we're trying to do. And there's so many different components that are associated with this workforce board that it can get very convoluted at times. And so I served on it for a number of years, and I know Mr. Gates is doing a wonderful job now and serving in that capacity. But it is multifaceted. And what I want to compliment our county team on, in particular Leanne, was that we didn't give up. We saw a better path forward that was not necessarily just going to kind of be the rising tide that lifts all boats. It was a better path forward for a number of reasons. And instead of giving up on it, we stuck with it. And now we've got, in these next few agenda items, I think a far better way to move this workforce development board forward, as well as what Mr. Gates just said. There's no better time now with what we're dealing with this pandemic. Arizona's managing pretty well, but we have to keep that success going. So kudos to all of them. Kudos to you, Mr. Chairman, for hanging in there and continuing to bring this front and center. And I'm glad we're at a much better place than we were a few months ago.
Great. Thank you. Steve Gallardo, it looks like you're leaning into your microphone, so I think you want to say something.
I always have something to say. Mr. Chairman, no, I just want to echo what both Supervisor Gates and Chukri have stated. This is a most important board that we have that's tied to the county. They do just great work. Their roles and responsibilities is so important. The work that Leanne and her team, as well as you, Mr. Chairman, for not giving up. Let's refocus. You can always stop and redirect and change stuff on any of our boards, but this one of the most important. This is so critical for the people in my district. The work they do to get people back into the workforce. How do we retrain them? Those that maybe even leaving high school at this point and have perhaps need a little direction, a little support in order to get trained in a particular area and meet the needs of our economy. I mean, all that stuff is looked at differently every year. And so this board is so important. And Shukri's right. We could have easily washed our hands and walked away from this, but we didn't. We said, no, this is too important. Let's fix what we need to fix. Let's put together a new plan in which this particular board will continue to serve the people of Maricopa County and really serve our economy. It really does. That's the focus. That's the main goal of this board. So with that, I'm just so pleased to see that we're able to continue to move forward, providing a new direction, and continue to do the great work they're doing. So thank you, Leanne and her team. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for continuing to move this forward. And let's have a board that gets some good stuff done.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to echo all the remarks made by the other supervisors. This has been such a challenging situation and such an important board for all of Maricopa County that I am so pleased that we are getting a positive result in a timely fashion to ensure that we can continue to have this board working for us going forward. So thank you to all of you.
Great. And the last thing, almost a baseball analogy, this thing has been feeling like we're getting into, well, we went into extra innings. I mean, it seemed like we just hit bunt singles throughout this entire year to get to the point where somebody could slide into the home on the last day or at the last out. So thank you. Again, Matt, please go and tell your colleagues on the board. They all have come out of private industry to almost have their feet on the fire to learn about this, and they're really doing something spectacular for the community. I wanted to thank Bruce Liggett and his team as well, because they are the ones daily working to get people back to work, get them trained to go into whatever this pandemic is going to bring for industry, but get them in jobs. This is a major step. This is a major reason why Maricopa County is the fastest growing county, but people are coming here and they're getting new jobs in new industries with the right training, and hopefully going to be taxpayers for years to come to continue to support this brand of government. So Matt, again, thank you. Leanne, thank you very much. I feel with everybody with smiles, I know how this vote's going to go. And it's just a fantastic day for the county and the Workforce Development Board. So, and Matt, also, thank you for you have a job, with dignity, but it's really nice. I have a couple jobs, but we would talk a lot at nighttime, and with your service to the county. That comes out of your family time, and I know that. So thank you for being there for all of us at the county. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Again, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Leanne. Okay, moving on to item number 5. Then is a contract amendment number 3 for the Small Business Support Program. So before, I guess I'm looking for a motion and hopefully some great comments about some incredibly fast and hard work done by the county. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Steve Gallardo.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
We'll go ahead and get a motion in a second, but I do have some comments and questions.
Okay, so are you making the original motion?
Oh, yeah, I could.
Okay.
I'll make the motion. We approve item 5.
I'll get back to you. Supervisor Chukri, did I hear you?
Second.
We have a motion,
Yeah.
motion and a second. So Supervisor Gallardo, I will start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess my question is to Leanne, if she is still there in regards to this item. I know there was a little discussion this morning on the 8:30 call, but I just want to get some clarification exactly where the proposed $10 million, has that been decided, what bucket that would be coming out of? I know we've had previous meetings where we've divided all the resources into certain areas. We have a game plan on how we're going to deal with COVID. and how we're going to deal with our CARES money. But I was curious to know if that has had additional discussions.
So Leanne, I'll call Leanne up. Leanne, thanks for joining us on this topic.
Thank you, Chairman Hickman, Supervisor Gallardo. So the financial close for October runs on Thursday of this week, and that's going to allow us to assess life-to-date
I'm
spending.
sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm still having problems hearing Leanne.
Sorry.
I apologize.
Leanne has that nice, silent, subtle voice, so we'll make her project a little bit.
Challenges, I think. So the financial close for the county runs on Thursday evening of this week. When we have the results of that, that will give us life-to-date spending on the CARES Act grant through the end of October and allow us to do a year-end forecast and then to come back hopefully the week of October 16th to talk about moving some money between the budgeted buckets that we have. There is, as we've discussed before, there is an allowance in the CARES Act guidance that allows us to use funding to offset public safety costs. So I estimate right now that this funding can come out of that bucket. It could also come out of underspending in any of the other areas. Some of that could result not just because of us spending less money than anticipated, but also because we not only have to spend everything by December 30th, but we have to have the goods in hand. So if we end up with any kind of an ordering delay or an inability to spend by that time, we would recommend moving money around at that time so that we can fully support the small business program.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, that's and I'm just going to go ahead and put this out, put it on the record. A few weeks ago, we got together and we decided where the resources were going to be allocated. And one of those areas was our school's pot. And I know Leanne has been working real hard, and her team has been working real hard to work with some of the schools to see how we can help in terms of the digital divide. I would hope that as we move forward, we continue with that bucket of resources and we look elsewhere in terms of how we would place this $10 million. I am very supportive of helping our small businesses and adding additional resources. I don't think any of us, and especially myself, ever thought this pandemic would last as long as it has. And even listening to some of the experts on television, they anticipate this is going to go well into 2021. It's going to have an impact not only on businesses, but schools, and how we move forward and the decisions we make are really going to determine what that looks like in 2021. I would venture out to say, and I haven't seen a heat map or any type of document that shows where all the business loans or grants have been placed, but I'd venture out to say that District 5 probably has received the least amount of money, and that's okay. I mean, the right thing to do is helping business. I don't care what district they are, it's about helping. But there are some areas that District 5 is going to really need help in. And that's why I really bring up the importance of the school funding and the digital divide, because that hits District 5 so important. So as we move forward with this type of discussion, I hope we keep that in mind. But I'm very supportive of helping these small businesses. I have small businesses in my district, and I'm hearing the stories, and they're struggling. And I mean, I wish we can even do more. It's just unimaginable situation that many of these businesses are facing, and how do we keep them afloat and get through this pandemic? This goes a very long way. And as we can continue to help our small businesses, I think it just helps the economy. It just helps everything. So very supportive, but I look forward to future discussions on exactly where the resources are going to come from.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Supervisor Chukri.
I very much so like the items we just voted on. We stuck with this too. And as Leanne and others will know, and my colleagues will note, that we didn't get it right, not because of any fault of our own, but just in working with these small businesses across Maricopa County, they didn't know about the grants, or it was a dollar amount or obstacles in the way that it just didn't connect. Now in the recent, I want to say 6 weeks, that we've modified it. It's going so well that we're having to reallocate more money to it, and that's great news. However, I am troubled by Mr. Gallardo's comments because we do need to make sure we're hitting and helping everyone. We've spoken about the digital divide now for a few weeks, Steve, and I agree with you. I think that need is probably in every district, and I certainly understand it being necessary in yours. And so if we're not achieving those goals in District 5 as it comes to these small business loans, I want to know how we can better do that. And Leanne, I'm not tasking you with that, but I'd like to learn more. We talked about Chicanos por la Casa. We talked about the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We talked about other outlets that are really dialed into Steve's district. And let's help them. These guys could be just small insurance companies. I mean, it can go run the gamut. And I'm glad we're doing better. But if we're not, as I said, kind of keeping the level with all districts, we know the need is there. Let's sharpen our pencil and see how we can do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Before I go on to, because I don't see, I think maybe Bill Gates, but Steve Gallardo, do you have anything to say? I mean, he's touching on some of the comments you made. Are you still feeling good then as we continue on?
No, the way I view this, Mr. Chairman, I mean, the whole CARES dollars. These were dollars that were given to local governments to address a crisis. And so how do you address the crisis? I mean, it's a large sum of money, but there's still more need out there, and that's up to our friends in Washington to decide if there's going to be a fourth stimulus. And I know that's a great debate, but I think we are addressing the crisis. I think we have done an exceptional job of just looking at where is the crisis. We've addressed rental assistance, we address utility assistance, we address definitely the business grants. I mean, testing, we've done the gamut. I think we have done an exceptional job in addressing the crisis. And that was our task, I believe, was how do we address the crisis? And part of that is the small business side of it. And where is it? I always knew from the get-go, and it's just, it's different challenges out here in District 5 that have to be. We have challenges in all the districts, don't get me wrong. But in District 5, my challenge is a little different. Anything from a language barrier, anything from businesses that are micro businesses. We have a lot of those out here. How do we reach out to those? But we have been. I mean, I've been working real hard with some of my folks that I have out here in District 5, the Maryvale Revitalization Group. I mean, first, when we opened it up to allow for Phoenix, the first group of folks I called was Maryvale Revitalization. Say, hey, how do we get those businesses in Maryvale that may be eligible for it, and so on. So we have been doing our job, but it's just a little bit more that we need to do out here in District 5 on my part. And we're doing what we can to try to get it out. The important thing to me is to address the need. What is the crisis when dealing with COVID? And, I wish I had a magic wand to address all the needs. We know we don't have that, but we can help where we can. So let it be the small businesses. And if we can do more in District 5, I'd be so open. Chicanos por la Casa is stand there, and they're willing to help as well. And there's other organizations as well. But no, I totally hear what Mr. Shukri has to say. I agree with everything he just said. But yeah, as we move forward, let's make sure that we are really trying to do the best with the money we have, and that's helping everyone in Maricopa County.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Supervisor Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is great. I'm thrilled that we are further expanding this program today. Mr. Chair, I want to thank you for your leadership on this and your flexibility. Again, at Maricopa County, we don't just jump and throw money at problems before we understand what the issues are. And that's exactly what we've done here. But again, there are a lot of people, or there are certainly people that I'm hearing that are claiming that we're not spending our money. And this vote here again shows that that is absolutely not the case. to be getting $73 million to small businesses. That's having a big impact. That is literally helping businesses keep the doors open. And I understand that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support of our congressional delegation. So I appreciate that. But in the end, we have been given the responsibility to determine how to spend this money. It's been spent on important things like our schools, and I agree with Supervisor Gallardo that we need to continue to have a focus there. But we all know the reality is this has to be spent by the end of the year. And we're doing that. We're doing it in a good way. And I would argue that in the next 2 months, that if there are additional ways that this money ought to be spent, that we should have an open mind to that as we learn more. I've been in touch with a lot of the chambers within my district, particularly the Anthem Chamber, who's done a great job of identifying some issues in this program. And I want to thank Leanne and her team for, again, adjusting as we learn more about where this money needs to be spent. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair, for putting this item on here today.
You bet. You're very welcome.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one more comment?
Sure.
I think Mr. Gates pointed something out, and I just want to be clear. Anyone, I don't care who they are or where they're at, that makes a comment or a complaint that we are not spending our money just are not following us. They're not. They're misguided. They're wrong. I believe this board has done an exceptional job in addressing the crisis. I couldn't be more pleased. I've supported every item that has come before us only because it's the right thing to do. We have done a great job in spending the monies that we have. We've had a short window in order to kind of get it out the door. So I couldn't agree more with Mr. Gates. We have done an exceptional job in spending our money, getting it out there where it's needed. So I do agree with that wholeheartedly. Anyone who's making those comments, and I'm hearing them too, Mr. Gates, so I agree with you. They're misguided and wrong. We are spending the money the way we should be spending it. We're getting it where it's needed. This is another example that we are addressing a crisis. And our small businesses, regardless of what district they're in, are suffering. So how do we help? How do we address that crisis? And that's exactly what this item is doing. We're putting another, I believe it's $10 million in this bucket to service these businesses that are just, they're bleeding right now. They're suffering. No one thought this pandemic, especially myself, ever thought this pandemic would last as long as it has. It has, and we are serving it. So I do want to point that out, that Maricopa County is doing a great job in addressing the need and the crisis. I couldn't be more pleased.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Vice Chairman Sellers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership on this. I feel that what we're doing with our CARES Act funding is really trying to do everything we can with the available funds to support our economy going forward. And this additional $10 million into this program is another example. You know, I guess in my district, I've had more feedback on the money that we've done to try to help small businesses survive through this pandemic than any other item. And not only have we listened to the people that we're trying to support. When we started the program, I was getting feedback from folks saying, we're being turned down, we don't understand what's going on. We worked with everyone, we made changes in the program so that we could address the issues that people were really dealing with. And this is applied not just to the small businesses, but also to some of the nonprofits that have been struggling through this. And we have been so successful in listening and making changes to the program to address what the needs really were and how we could help these folks survive, that we have more than once now run out of funds and needed to add more funds into this. And I think it's just really, really critical that we continue to use the funds in the best way we can to really support everyone we can in this community to get us through this all together. And I'm really, really impressed with everything that this board and what this county has done to this point with the funds we've had available. So thank you.
You're welcome. So being that I made a baseball analogy, I'll do a domino analogy now. I think this board has been really focused in on knocking those dominoes down upstream so we don't have a whole bunch fall down downstream. We've been pretty nimble with this. There have been other governments that maybe used a scattershot or shotgun approach and hope they knock down targets, but what we've been trying to do has almost been sniper-like, where we are seeing if we can help small businesses stay afloat, they will continue to have their workers show up, and their workers showing up can mean they're going to get paid so they can make their rent payments or their mortgage payments. We are taking care of the homeless situation, we hope, with the eviction, not just the moratorium, but giving the money to landlords to keep people in their houses, so, and keep them out of harm's way with this COVID pandemic. So, yes, with governments, look at some of the governments that have spent some of this CARES money, and then they've come to us, Phoenix and Mesa, namely. I don't know what the decision-making process has been. It's not been as transparent as what we've been doing. I haven't heard of very many meetings that they're having as we continue to deplete this finite fund balance and the way that we're looking at it. And I want to thank my colleagues for continually staying in touch. I mean, you guys are out there in cyberspace right now, but that does not mean you haven't been making phone calls and talking to your chiefs and the chiefs talking to us and the different agency heads as we go through this thing. So you guys have been great. We've been a great team with this, and I think other governments need to pay attention on how we've been doing business here at the county, and I hope our citizens have noticed just how much time and effort we have put towards this on the way of being diligent and prudent in spending federal CARES money. So with that being said, I can't be happier to throw a quick meeting on a Monday because we still have some fund balance and we have need out there that we've been able to help out and hopefully help quickly to keep these businesses afloat. So I do have a motion and a second. So on item number 5, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And Steve Gallardo, with that, know that my phone is always open, and if we find out that we have a need that we can help even more people with a limited amount of funds left, let's keep working on it. We've got till December 31st to do really good things. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
so very good. With that brings that down. I can go ahead and gavel out of this one, and I'm inviting my members to go. We will be going into executive session. I'm looking at you, Fran, because if you say, oh my God, you got to take a vote, what do I need to do here?
It would be best to take the vote here.
Okay.
Motion to go into e-session, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, I have a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We will now be going into executive session. I will give you guys 5 minutes so we can walk over across the hallway, and I will join up back then. Thank you guys for attending today.